What's going on, y'all? Sorry, I gotta fix this real quick. Nick had some technical difficulties, and because of that, our screen is off center, and he is not here right now. But welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to Face Mask Fantasy. Let me fix this real quick. As much as I can, as well as I can. There we go. And yeah, when Nick is here, I'm gonna have to readjust that again. But welcome to the show. Today is the first time that we are live streaming, and we don't really have a concrete subject. I mean, we went over redraft rankings, way too early 2022 redraft rankings a few weeks ago. We went through running backs, then wide receivers, then tight ends, then quarterbacks. And we just went over dynasty buys and dynasty sells over our past 2 live streams, and the last live stream was real fun. The last live stream we played around a little bit with the Dynasty cells, because we didn't want to give you the same old names that everybody else is talking about. We didn't want to give you Mike Evans. We didn't want to give you, I mean, Nick mentioned Ezekiel Elliott, and that's who we started it off with, but that was the only sure thing. The only, like, duh, of course you should be putting Ezekiel Elliott on a Dynasty cell. We decided to have fun with it, and we decided to use really nobody under the age or over the age of 26. So guys, you might not be thinking we're cells. We talked about. I mean, if you ever want to hear an argument on why you should be thinking about selling, Jamar Chase, which we don't advocate that, but we had some fun with the subject. All right, here's Nick. He's coming in. But yeah, if you want to go back and listen to probably the funnest live stream we had, go tune into this past Tuesday's live stream. And what is going on, Nick? Thank you for joining us.
Sorry about that. I was having some technical difficulties with my camera before the stream, rebooted the computer, and apparently I must have either that or I must have missed like 50 updates on my computer. So it took a little while to boot it back up. Sorry about that.
It's all good. Yo, Alex, what's going on, man? How you doing?
What's happening, everybody?
And I'm sorry if my mic is a little bit hot in the last live stream. I had some difficulties, so I got to dial it in right now. But what's going on? Today is a Q&A session where we're coming into this with no concrete subject for really the first time. Again, so you guys are going to have to help us out. You guys are going to have to help us out with the chat. So Alex,
I mean, you don't have to.
No, you do.
But it would be it wouldn't hurt. No. I mean, there's some things. I mean, I can try to kick things off a little bit here. I mean,
in the thumbnail we included Kyler Murray. We can talk a little bit about the Kyler Murray situation because we really haven't touched on that. We really haven't touched on the Deshaun Watson situation, so I included him in the thumbnail too, because I figured that was something that we could at least touch on now that we have.
He's swirling.
Some coaching. Coaching spots are solidified. We know who the head coaches are going to be, and now we're starting to talk about a little bit of a free agent movement speculation. And then we threw Hollywood Brown in the thumbnail just because after the live stream on Tuesday, Nick had some information dropped through his Twitter timeline that there was some rumors, at least.
I love and hate Twitter.
They proved to be false. But some rumors that Hollywood Brown was going to quit football and start a Twitch career. And
start a content creating career. I mean, some people, again, this is all speculation. We're just here having a conversation. Neither of us are reporters. Neither of us are reporting anything whatsoever. I'm just reacting to things that I see on social media that actually gain where it's like actual traction, like several thousand people are talking about this, right? So there are some people that think this story has legs. There are some people think that there is because the gaming
it's the internet,
right?
Of course there are some people that think this story has legs.
They're bringing things up like the gaming industry is a little bit more lucrative than you're giving it credit. Now you're talking about an NFL contract versus a gaming career, so it's still heavily weighted in favor of the contract.
His whole life, and it's still only 25, 26. He's worked his whole life to get to the point where he is. Old. Is he 24 then?
He's 24. Okay, he'll be 25 in June.
Yeah, so. Are you really gonna throw that all away for a Twitch streaming career? I mean, it's technically within the realm of possibility. But we have no definitive knowledge on that situation to really point one way or the other. So at this point, it's probably just a Twitter story.
The most prominent platform to pick this up was SI. SI.com did do something about, Marquise Brown's future in the NFL. So again, there are there's a bit of legs to this story, but I don't even want to use the word story. It's a rumor.
Yeah,
right
I mean,
now.
we just threw him in the thumb just because, again, we don't have any concrete subject set up for today. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, back and forth, and we figured why not
we
just
brought
have
up, so
why not
I'll
just have a Q&A session like we normally do in season. We haven't had a full-on Q&A session in the off season, so this is really the first one of those. But you were going to say?
Let me just kick things off, since we don't have a concrete subject for today, so happy to just essentially shoot the shit with y'all. But let me do a quick carryover from our last stream that we did end up talking about. You, John, you and I talked about it, but we didn't talk about it during the stream. On Tuesday, we did you may have, did you mention this while
I went over it while you were out.
Yeah, so we talked about players to consider selling. One name who didn't come up was Javonte Williams. Did you bring this up?
I was kidding about that when I brought that up, dude.
So again, I
was kidding about that because if there's one way to trigger Nick, it's to talk about Javonte Williams.
No, because I mean, again, I'll say this. Yes, I'm a big fan of Javonte Williams, even though.
And then once you make your Javonte piece, let's get to these questions in the chat. Yeah,
absolutely. I have no shares of Javonte, but still a fan. Doesn't mean I can't be a fan of the guy. But right now, his asking price is astronomical. This is another thing that's being talked about on social media, the dynasty price right now of Javonte Williams, because there are numerous outlets and numerous people and experts that will tell you they have Javonte Williams in their top 5 for dynasty running backs.
What's going on, Elout? Good to see you.
What's going on, Elout? So that is something.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about trying to find peak value for players, and Deebo Samuel was brought up. A couple other players were brought up. So technically, Javonte Williams.
Right,
falls
that's my
into
point. Would you not put Javonte in that group right now because the hype on him is so real?
If you find an owner that values a player more than you and is really willing to give you pretty much anything you want for a player, then have that discussion with them. Maybe you can come out on top. But I'm not actively shopping Javonte. He didn't make my list for a reason.
What if you could get, say, and this was a thought proposed on Twitter. This is not my original thought, but I thought this was such an interesting benchmark. What if somebody offered you Christian McCaffrey and a first-round pick?
No.
You would not trade Javonte?
No.
Okay.
Not for that.
Dang. All right.
There
you go.
Give me more.
What about 2 first-round picks?
I think about it.
You would think about it.
But
you're not like, okay, yeah.
Because I have him relatively high too, and so do you.
I do. I'm very high. And
we aren't very high on Christian McCaffrey. We have him high. He's a hard person to peg.
I'm warming up to the idea of him for at least 2022.
Well, we can get into that discussion after we hit some of these questions from the chat. Maybe on the back end of this.
I just wanted to throw Javonte in there because I'll
Williams
take any
as a sell situation. But Alex is first up with a question for our Q&A stream today. Did y'all mention Allen Robinson as a buy? He had 150 targets in every year except this season. We did not.
We did not,
because we weren't really picking on anybody that was in the kind of that you would put in the obvious buckets. We were looking for my list consisted of a bunch of people that were at the age of 26 or below. So we didn't mention Allen Robinson.
We tried to make it more of a challenge.
But Allen Robinson is a buy.
Not that Robinson isn't.
I think you can. You've been able to buy low on Allen Robinson for a while. So Allen Robinson is a buy. If you have a back end second round pick in this year's draft and you can turn that into Allen Robinson, who is the same age as Cooper Kupp, And we know what Allen Robinson's track record is, especially his track record when he gets 150 targets. He can rebound. Mm-hmm. He was the wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 12 in 2 consecutive years before this past year with Justin Fields. So there is some value to be had there. If you're looking at your draft and you're looking at your picks and saying, I got some late picks here, late first, late second. Let me see if I can move this late second into a piece and you're a contender. And I would do that. I've thought about doing it myself.
So Allen Robinson right now, I would say before we know his team, like this is the time to do it. Because what if he latches on to a really favorable situation?
Yeah, if he goes to the Chargers, if he
sure realistic landing spot,
stuff like that. Yeah.
Or ends up who else has lots of cap space?
The Dolphins. If he ends up as the Dolphins opposite Allen or Jalen Waddle, there are a couple of situations here. If he goes to the Texans and they find a way to get Nico Collins into that tertiary piece in the offense where he would fit.
We've seen him perform with bad quarterbacks before. Not that I'm not ready to call Tua bad. He's still got something to prove, but like he's good. Let's put it this way: I would be fine with that. I would be fine with that landing spot. But that low second round pick. It's going to creep up to a high second round pick, especially if it's like, Allen Robinson signs with the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah. And if he goes, he's
going to go up.
It might be even more than that. You might have to pay a first. It depends on how the person you're buying from values him, right?
Yeah. The buy window is now.
But basically, yes.
Now. Because you can fight giving up a better pick than the 209 or 210 this year. You can fight back on asking for better than that because it's just like, look at the season he just had. Right. And a lot of I think that situation that he was in last year, it was all Nagy and them not putting Justin Fields in a situation where he could succeed, and Allen Robinson probably just being like, why'd you put me on the franchise tag? I've been a workhorse wide receiver for your team. You guys did me dirty. I don't want to be here. I hate Nagy. I want out. and that culminated in him having the season that he did. I don't know if he's all the way done. No. So, I'd throw a second round pick, a late second round pick, considering the hit rate for late second round picks is less than 50% that he will be even just a valuable player, even a wide receiver 3. Right, let alone a guy with a wide receiver 1 pedigree.
We're not talking about a high-end second-round pick where we've seen T. Higgins go high in the second round. We've seen Amon-Ra St. Brown go in the high to mid-second round. I mean, we're talking about a late second. So if you have a late second, I probably will be offering a late second for Allen Robinson at some point after this stream. So he's a good buy, Alex. What?
Giving John ideas.
Hey, it was already an idea. I've already been talking with the Allen Robinson owner in our Superflex League. But hey, the next person you brought up is Matt Stafford. And we're not going to get into this one too much here. We did a deep dive on Stafford in the last live stream. So check that out. And Nick put out a really good video yesterday.
Yeah. I would say check out the video. Stafford. That gets right to the point. You don't have to go looking for you don't have to go looking for the Stafford.
But we were advocating seeing what you could get. We weren't advocating outright selling Matt Stafford, but we were advocating to see what you could get for Matt Stafford because this is the highest his value probably will ever be. So I wouldn't advocate buying Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
But you should definitely see what's out there.
A good price. I'll just, what's a good price? We mentioned Russell Wilson plus. So get a quarterback back who is perennially better than Stafford in fantasy. And you can probably, at this point, definitely ask for a pick. You get 1 year younger, not significant, but younger is younger. You get 1 year younger at the quarterback position and you pick up an asset. Or it could be a position of need. So yeah,
something else that I was thinking of is like,
we have a video on the channel though, if that helps.
We have him in the thumbnail.
Yeah.
This is a buy low opportunity for Kyler Murray. His value will never be lower, most likely, than it is right now. And when he's healthy, with DeAndre Hopkins, he's a top 4 quarterback because he comes with that rushing floor, and he's a good passer, at least when he has a bona fide number 1 wide receiver out there.
Yep.
And when he's healthy, obviously.
I don't know that you get Kyler.
I mean, with all the bad press that's coming out about him, I don't know if you get him straight up, but if you could upgrade from Matt Stafford to Kyler Murray, you're selling high on Matt Stafford and you're buying low on Kyler Murray. That's my point. I'm not saying that you could do a 1-for-1 swap. That is not a possibility.
No, and that's it. If you're on the Stafford side, you have to add something.
Right, but if you're looking to improve your quarterback situation and the Russell Wilson owner ain't interested, that is technically, and then we're looking for buy low scenarios while you're also selling high on Stafford, that's another guy that you could look at. Because chances are you're never gonna see a situation where Kyler Murray's value is quite as low as it is right now.
So I'm just gonna say, Elau, I see your comment. We're gonna absolutely talk about it, but I'm just gonna. Alex posted like his situation, and I see like you don't have a lot of immediate draft capital. So I think I would lean going like the Wilson route first to try to, because you could also acquire a pick in that case and Kyler be secondary in your situation.
Well, you sent an offer of Stafford for Russell Wilson and Allen Robinson, and you'd like a pick instead of Robinson if possible. But hey, I don't hate that trade at all. I think that's a good trade. Because Russell Wilson
that's exactly
has been a QB1 in every season except this past season. And Matt Stafford has been a QB2, a high-end QB2, but a QB2 in pretty much every season with the exception of this past season. And while we don't expect a huge drop-off from Stafford, when you're looking at found money, sometimes you got to just cash in. So I kind of I like that offer. And
I like that offer too.
I would try to be replenishing my pick stash too. But I don't hate getting Russell Wilson and Allen Robinson in a deal bag. I really don't. But hey, Elau, thanks for the compliment on the background. Much appreciated.
Oh yeah, John, you did that.
Yeah, we were trying to get a little bit more real estate for what matters, which isn't blank space. So
right.
But thank you.
For our big heads.
And Elau, you think Robert Woods is going to be undervalued next season? People forgot about him.
Probably.
But he's got a 3-month recovery on OBJ right now.
Yeah,
and
that's a
true.
Good point.
And again, that's a guy whose value is probably never going to be lower than it is right now.
I mean, at this stage in his career, yeah.
Right. Because he could bounce back next year. And then, I mean, what I have Robert Woods. If somebody offered me, again, a late second, if somebody offered me 209, and I really can't even see anybody offering me that, I would think people would be like, hey, I'll give you a couple of thirds. Like, I don't know really what the market price is on Robert Woods. I think he's more valuable than whatever you will have to give up for him. As is the case with a lot of aging vets, especially one that just sustained an injury.
Right.
The only thing we got to worry about now, and we brought it up last week, because OBJ got injured, if OBJ didn't get injured, his asking price as far as an NFL team
as a free agent
would have gone way up.
Yeah, it would.
He would have cashed in. He would have gotten a
right.
mil.
If he stays with the Rams, there's a decent chance he leaves significant money on the table.
Right. They should be able to sign him again for a vet minimum because he's coming off a second ACL tear in 2 years, and
won't be highly likely he won't be ready week 1.
And he's 30. Right.
Yeah. Woods is 30 as well. They're both 30. So
Woods has
the 3-month a quote unquote head start on Odell. You're right. The one thing that I just have a little bit of pause with Woods is the fact that the injury did happen midway through the season, which means a good chunk of his off season is going to be rehab. Now, you know, with a veteran, you're not worried about like learning the offense or anything like that.
No, dude,
right?
he was quietly the wide receiver 16 through 10 weeks.
I'm not. Yeah, I am like, this is not questioning Robert Woods' ability. It has everything to do with just like, yes, ACL injuries aren't what they used to be, but it's still true that the rehab process is lengthy and takes away from time where you can be doing activities that more directly relate to your job, like literal football activities. That's the only thing.
But he's a vet. He doesn't have to learn the playbook. He's been there for the past couple of seasons.
I'm aware.
He should hit the ground running.
I say this for anybody who suffers an ACL tear. I can't expect them to hit the ground running. Like, it could be a slow start. Will he be ready week 1? Probably. Will he be Robert Woods week 1? That's my question.
I mean, it depends if he is going to be their number 2 wide receiver and if Odell gets signed again or not. But either way, Robert Woods is undervalued right now, and he will be coming into next season. He was undervalued before he got an ACL tear. He has been perennially one of the most undervalued wide receivers in fantasy football for the past 2 to 3 seasons. So this is a definite hit to his value. And yeah, I mean, what do you got to throw at a Robert Woods owner to get Robert Woods? Couple of thirds?
So I guess what I'm ultimately trying to say is that's kind of like the talking point I'm like giving the Woods owner, like to try to lower the price if I'm interested. If you're still interested and ultimately the Woods owner is not balking and says, I'll take a second, but it's not going lower than that, like, I'm fine with that roll of the dice. If we're trying to do a second for Allen Robinson, I don't have a problem doing a second for Robert Woods. I have no issue with that. I would just say, like, that's my talking point that I'm going for if I'm trying to buy Woods. Like, the ACL
asking
process
price on Allen
lengthy.
Robinson is going to be higher than the asking price on Woods, I would bet you. I bet you can try to lowball the Woods owner and see if you can get that.
But Woods played well last year. Robinson, at the end of the day, did not. I would offer more for Woods than Robinson.
No injury concerns with Allen Robinson, and he's got the pick of his litter.
Up this year.
Got the pick of the litter of places to go, and at their peak, Allen Robinson was a much better fantasy wide receiver than Robert Woods.
Yeah, revisionist.
So, yes, the price on Allen Robinson will be higher than Robert Woods, for sure.
I think there will be recency bias. People forget easily.
Yeah, people will have forgotten how good Robert Woods is. They just saw OBJ.
They'll remember he had a better year before the injury.
Dude, he was not. People were thinking this is a down year for Robert Woods, even though we know he was the wide receiver 16 through 10 weeks. People were down on Robert Woods. The narrative was that people forget, but people were down on Robert Woods because they were expecting him to be to be Cooper Kupp. That was the point. Last year, coming into the season, everybody thought Robert Woods was going to be the number 1 wide receiver for the Rams, and Cooper Kupp would take a backseat to Robert Woods once Stafford went there. And it was the other way around. And people were down on Robert Woods before the injury. I remember it. As a Robert Woods owner, I was a little bit down on Robert Woods because I wasn't really looking at the whole picture and seeing, wow, he was a mid to high end wide receiver too, despite me being disappointed in him. So yeah, dude, everybody should be going out and trying to buy Robert Woods, especially if you're a contender and you probably won't have to give out as much to get him versus Allen Robinson. But I would go out and try to get both of those guys.
Try to get both of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is the name of the game. It's like taking the chance on the guys who you think can bounce back when the vibes are down or vibes are bad.
So yeah, man, Elout, good call.
Yeah.
And Alex, what position should I improve? You got quarterback, Jackson, Stafford, Wentz, Huntley, Darnold, RB, Swift, Kamara, Chubb, Connor, Pollard, Jones, Williams.
What's Jones?
J.D.
Which
McKissick.
Williams?
Is that Aaron Jones? Is that Ronald Jones? Probably Ronald Jones, considering you have him behind Pollard.
The order. Yeah. And
I'd be trying to improve wide receiver, man. Or wait, let me take a look. Amari, McLaurin, Lockett, Landry, Davis. You got Davis, you got Palmer. I like those guys. I know
Here's
Nick
what
thinks
I would try to do.
Nick thinks the world of McLaurin. I like him. I'm not quite as high as Nick is on McLaurin. But yeah,
I've come down a rung.
Your running back core is looking a little old. Kamara, situation's uncertain with that legal situation, and he's a little old. Wouldn't advocate selling Kamara right now because you're selling low, but it's something to think about. Chubb, if we were going with more chalk Dynasty sells last week, Chubb would have been in there. So Chubb is a sell. Connor, I don't know if he's a sell until we know where he's going.
If he goes back to Arizona, honestly,
then he's a sell.
Yeah.
Then he's a sell.
I don't know what to do with Connor. I really don't. I know what Kamara and Chubb I would be looking to offload. Not for nothing, like not for pennies on the dollar, especially not Chubb. Kamara neither, but like you.
If you can get a high first round pick in this year's draft, and considering, and you can basically solidify getting either Breece Hall or Isaiah Spiller, I would do that because you will be saving 5 years at the running back position. I know Chubb is good. I know Chubb is real good. But they don't have a number one wide receiver. Defenses will key in on Chubb more because of that. Moving forward, he's not getting any younger. We've seen running backs fall off right around the age where he's at, maybe a year from his age. We've seen Todd Gurley just fall off the face of the earth. We've seen Le'Veon Bell hit that cliff, fall off the face of the earth at basically a year from where Chubb is at. So again, if you're thinking about selling at peak value, I'd be thinking about selling Chubb. Try to get a first round pick if you want to replenish your running back ranks. But you could also flip that into a couple of wide receivers.
I mean, you could also package Stafford with one of those running backs and try to make a blockbuster happen. Screw it. Like, see what you can get. See if you can get, if the Russ owner is willing to give you Allen Robinson, that gives you a boost to your wide receivers. Could you get a first round pick out of that too? If you're offering I'll give you Stafford and Chubb. Like, see if there's a guy. See if there's
but you got to be going for a high first round pick.
Well, do your obviously,
I
every
wouldn't be
league
selling Chubb for 112, 111.
Well, okay, yeah, sure. Obviously, if that, it's a case by case basis. You got to do your due diligence a little bit, run through the teams in the league, see who needs what. But I'm just saying, is there like a middling team who you could you can from a bird's eye view, unbiased, look at that team and go, that team could contend, if they had some pieces. They need a quarterback, Matthew Stafford. They need a running back, Nick Chubb. They have some young guys that I like who are still good. These are the games that you get to play. I would consider, but sure, get the best value that you can for each individual guy. But I think Stafford is a sell high, and while Kamara's maybe not the most sell high, Chubb is. If you could package them for a big move, that's always fun.
Yeah, if you
get a good young wide receiver,
come across a trade you're not really sure on, throw it in the comments, bro. We'll check it out. We'll try to advise you. And we're always here Tuesday, Thursday too. So 6 p.m. EST. So join in the conversation whenever you have questions about it, and we can help you out once you start working on those trades. But yeah, I would try to sell one of your running backs, one of your older-ish running backs for some wide receiver depth.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that Wilson Robinson deal that you sent. I know you're trying to get a pick out of it, but even with picks, the idea with the pick is you're basically just trying to make your team better in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can go for it now, go for it now.
Yep.
That's what Dynasty football is all about. Sometimes you got to sacrifice a little bit of your future to get a real shot at that shit. So
yep.
I like that a lot. You lost in the Super Bowl and sold a lot of picks to get there. Hey, see, that's what we were talking about.
You take your shot.
So
you take your shot. It didn't happen. You can't be mad. You can't fault yourself for going down swinging. Yeah, that's what it's all about. I mean, at the end of the day, the name of the game is to win the championship, not win who won the most trades.
Yeah.
So
nobody in a year, nobody's gonna remember the trade you won if that didn't help you win a ship.
Right. So. Yeah, maybe try to replenish the picks pile a little bit, get a little younger at running back. Quarterback, you're mostly fine because of Lamar by himself, and then, whatever Stafford possibly brings back in a trade. And
hey, I noticed you got Gabe Davis on your team. We talked about Nick brought up Gabe Davis as one of his sells last week because we were talking about how we saw Gabe being sold for first round picks because he's a soon to be 23-year-old wide receiver playing with one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah.
If you can spin that.
I think in this situation with this wide receiver core, I think I would keep Gabe.
If you can turn Gabe into Garrett Wilson, dude. Again, we talked about it last week. If you can find just a clear-cut upgrade on talent at the same position somewhere in the offseason,
Davis will bring you the most haul right now. Yeah.
If you can sell Gabe Davis, I don't love the idea of selling Gabe Davis, but if you can find a buyer who will give you a mid-first round pick, especially in Superflex, it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So, honestly, everything is for sale. Everything is for sale at all times.
Everything is for sale at all times. John's Dynasty team is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Yeah, I got noties on. Hit me up.
Right. Nothing. Everything's got a price, right? Everybody's got a price, and every pick. Everything's got some type of price.
Right.
There's no such thing as an untouchable.
No. And hey, it worked out for me. So
he's got Swift. What would it take you to trade DeAndre Swift if you had
trade away DeAndre Swift?
Like you're trading him away. I don't know what your situation. I'm just spitballing just because he has Swift. Don't trade Swift.
I mean, it's multiple. You're talking multiple firsts.
Multiple firsts, yeah, and then some.
Yeah, and then you got to factor in whether or not the person that you're buying them from or you're selling them to and getting those picks from is a contender or not, because that dictates where the picks are going to be.
Right.
If you can sell Swift to a guy that should still be at the bottom of your league, and you can get a few first this round, this year and next year's first or something like that, that's enticing.
That's
very enticing. But there are very few situations where I would probably pull the trigger on Swift. But hey, again, everybody.
But everybody's got a price.
Everybody's got a price.
Yeah.
And Alex, you said Rojo, so yeah, Rojo, Ronald Jones, and Darrell Williams. Okay.
I mean, Swift is obviously as close to untouchable as it gets. Pollard, I would also keep, but after that, I mean, Chubb and Kamara could both turn into good assets. I mean, it also comes down to, do you want to, go for it one more year with those guys? I mean. But Chubb does make sense as a sell.
Lockett is a sell if you can find an owner
that. A sell. I just don't know what you're getting for him.
Yeah, but Lockett is a sell for me. Yeah, again, anybody's a sell.
Anybody could go for literally anything.
He brings up Darrell Williams, and I want to talk to you a little bit about a few situations, team situations, and how they relate to fantasy, and again, how we should be approaching these situations. So Darrell Williams, the Chiefs running back situation. How are you approaching, you as a CEH owner? We talked about it a little bit, probably about a month ago. How are you approaching the CEH situation? How are you approaching Darrell Williams, Derek Gore, and Dynasty? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't think any of those guys are must-owns.
Is CEH a buy low? Or do you think he's just probably not a guy that's ever really going to pan out?
I don't at this point. I mean, it's easy to be down on him right now, but I mean, totally healthy. Well, okay, sorry, maybe not totally healthy. He did miss some time at the end of the season, but in the AFC Championship game, how many times did he touch the ball? Eight times.
He should have been on our sell show last week. He's under the age of 26. He should have been.
He's not a sell though, because like, what are you gonna get for him? I don't think he's. I think you're stuck with him if you have him, and if you don't, there's no reason to be interested. I hate to say it, but I mean, he could be a decent, like, somewhat inconsistent RB2, and I'm scared to say that might be like the best case outcome.
Yeah, I mean, we all forget this, or at least it was something that I kind of forgot halfway through the season because of how the Chiefs were doing. The Chiefs overhauled their O-line coming into this past season.
There was reason to be
way over. They came out for that Super Bowl, Super Bowl loss,
and they said, "Well, we're doing this completely different.
We are bringing in the best O-line talent we can because that's our only weakness right now, or at least that was the perception coming into last year's offseason." And look at how that worked out for the running backs, specifically CEH. CEH's value
is down.
Yeah,
again,
it went down after they significantly improved on paper their O-line.
Like, what would you offer? What would you offer for Clyde? Let's say you didn't even
seconds.
A couple of seconds.
Yeah, a couple of late seconds if I'm a contender, just to bolster my running back situation, because running backs are always in need, and CEH is still technically young and a good offense.
Right.
The narrative is still there.
Yeah.
If you can sell CEH on the narrative to somebody and get 2 late seconds, sure. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, it almost feels like a cut your losses type of situation at this point.
And if I was on the buying end of that, it still wouldn't. I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's CEH is one of the
second
toughest,
rounder, like 1 second rounder.
CEH is one of the toughest pegs to nail down in this offseason as far as where his value is.
Yeah, I don't think he's a buy. I don't think he's a sell. I think he's. It's a weird enigma where it's like, why would I have this guy, but like I'm assuming I'm getting pennies on the dollar in any potential offer, and then if I'm buying, it's like, do I really want this dude? Like, I don't.
Yeah, it hasn't been.
I don't think he fits
injuries
anywhere.
With CEH. We can't point to he's super electric, super effective, but injuries have held him back.
Well, he did miss time this year.
Yeah, dude, but that's still your injuries have not held him back. That when you're looking at CEH,
I'm not trying to make an excuse for him. I'm just saying he did miss time this year.
Yeah, but that's not what you're looking at when you're looking at CEH. You're looking at basically just an ineffective running back that doesn't get touches in his own offense. The injury just only lessens his value further.
What is out of his control, well, seemingly what is out of his control that doesn't make any sense to me, is he was billed as a pass-catching running back when he got drafted. They throw the ball to Darrell Williams, the Chiefs do, more than Clyde does, or more than they do Clyde. So, like, his usage is also a little puzzling. Why that's the case, I don't know. I'm not in practice every single day. I don't know what Andy Reid is seeing. I don't know what the Chiefs are deciding to do from a game plan perspective. But the proof, like, I'm not making this up. You can go back and look. Like, Darrell Williams caught the ball like on a per touch basis more than Clyde Edwards-Helaire did. And if it's like, okay, if you're going to draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round with that usage in mind, with that role in mind, why are you not using him that way? So it's a perfect storm of just like nothing is going right.
I mean, I don't know. Could it be coaching? Could it be preference on Mahomes? It's all speculation.
Right. And obviously I can't like bash. I'm not trying to bash the Chiefs coaches. All they've done is win games year after year after year. But like, I'm just calling into question, like, why is this the case? So yeah, I guess in a way that almost because Darrell Williams.
Hey, we've seen teams try to draft a running back high and strike out. Just look at Trey Sermon this past season. Sometimes what a prospect is billed as coming into the NFL just doesn't come to fruition, and that could be the case with CEH. Maybe he's just like, he's not a good pass blocker, and you can only use him in certain situations, and because of that, he's not on the field for, again, specific situations where Darrell Williams is, which leads to Darrell Williams getting more passes than CEH. And that's, again, speculation in the moment. Speculation is all we got.
Yep.
But if you can sell CEH, I wouldn't hate it. If you can buy CEH, I don't know if I'd love it, but I wouldn't hate it again because you're technically, he's still a young running back.
Right.
Running back is always a position of need, and if you can buy low on a young running back, I don't hate it. But
if you have Clyde,
hey,
like,
Alex, you traded away CEH and traded for Darrell last year, and it worked. Hey, I bet. What did you get for CEH when you traded him?
And Eli, I don't blame you, man. Like, there's why, like, if you just straight up don't want the dude, like, what can I possibly say to that other than I don't blame you?
If you still have CEH out there and you can move off of CEH and add a pick to get an ETN, I would try to do something like that.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I mean,
if you can move CEH and get James Robinson plus, I would try to do something like that too, because James Robinson will be a free agent after this next season, which is earlier than the rest of the running backs in his class because he was an undrafted free agent. One of his years on his contract gets voided, and we've seen what he can do with a full workload. So when he becomes a free agent, another team will pick him up, probably give him a significant role, and we might see a resurgence from James Robinson. So if you're playing,
that would be cool.
4D chess, if you're playing a year out with some of these situations, you might be able to come out a winner in Dynasty a year from now. Just speculation. But moving on from CEH, but Alex, let us know what you traded away from him. I got another running back situation. Cam Akers.
Cam.
Everybody was super hype on Cam Akers because he came back 5 months removed from an Achilles injury, and it was just like, wow,
unprecedented turnaround,
insane. His value was probably up there with Javonte Williams, or where Javonte Williams is right now. And then we saw him in the playoffs. Last
year it was,
and he was not super effective.
No.
In the throughout the playoffs. Especially in the Super Bowl.
He didn't have like a signature game in any of the playoff games. No.
So has his lack of production in the playoffs soured you at all on Cam Akers? And does this to you present a small buying window if you missed out on buying Cam Akers when he was still on the shelf?
To that question, yeah. Because people are going to, again, people have short memories, right? It's very much like what have you done for me lately type of thing. And the last couple times we've seen Cam Akers, it hasn't been impressive. Now he's caught the ball pretty nicely, or he did in the playoff games. He did that pretty well, all things considered. That was good. So yeah, this is a buy low opportunity. It's just what we have to account for is I don't think we can just assume that Cam Akers will be, at least this year, like be a bell cow.
Ooh, Alex, that's a lot to give up. I like Najee. It's a lot to give up, but continue.
Dang. I like swinging for the fences though. But Pitts, that's tough. So with Akers, I don't know that this team, like Sony Michel might walk, but Darrell Henderson's still going to be there.
They got negative $15 million in cap space as it stands right now. They have no first-round picks for the foreseeable future.
They can restructure. I think I read that they can probably restructure a few contracts, at least to get under the cap. They're not going to, but I hear you.
But there shouldn't be like high-end competition.
Oh no! I mean, it's going to be
Cam
Cam
Akers.
Akers and it's going to be Akers and Darrell Henderson.
Yeah,
that's what it's going to be. Sony Michel's going to walk because Sony Michel was acquired because they lost Cam Akers to begin with.
Right.
So, it's going to be Akers, Henderson, and Jake Funk. Like that's going to be the trio. But Henderson's going to Henderson's going to mix in. He'll he's. I think it's fair to say at this point Henderson has proven a little bit more as a pass catcher over Akers, but Akers looks like the superior runner. Over at least before the Achilles
again
injury.
He was coming back from one of the toughest injuries to come back from. It's miraculous that he even saw the field. So should you be really that worried about his lack of production in the playoffs is kind of what I was alluding to.
Yeah, not really. Just remember he's not going to be a bell cow back. But yeah, this is a buy low opportunity for him because he should be their feature back. I don't think it's going to be Darrell Henderson. So yeah, I mean, just the fact, again, we want to people want to crucify this guy because he didn't play well in the playoffs. He had an unprecedented recovery from what's generally considered one of the worst injuries an athlete can suffer.
Specifically a running back too. Yeah.
Right. So there's going to be like less rehab that he has to worry about this off season. It's going to just be more like, I think, conditioning, getting his strength back in his legs or in his leg. Yeah, this is a buy low opportunity for Cam Akers.
Najee outscored Pitts by over 125 points, and it got me to the Super Bowl. All you can ask for a trade is in doing a trade is that it gets you to the bowl. And I'm sorry that you lost. It's just that, giving up Pitts, that's the crux of this deal for me. And I know CEH sucks, but at the time you traded him, the narrative on him probably was not that he sucked all that much. It was probably at least wasn't as low as it is right now.
I think it really started coming to that.
Giving up Pitts hurts. If it was Pitts in a 2022 second for Najee, sure. If you're treating CEH as literally nothing, yeah, you came out on top. So hey, the trade helps you get to the Super Bowl. No regrets. I like that attitude.
We'll see what happens with Pitts. I'm high on him as a prospect moving forward. Obviously, the Atlanta offense isn't the most ideal one to be in, but 1,000 yards as a rookie is pretty good. Najee's going to be a top 5 option at running back for the next 5 years. Pitts.
5?
Yeah, 5 or 6.
I don't know about that. 3 or 4 is the window I'll give him, because came into the league relatively old for a running back prospect.
Is he 22, 23?
So I think he's going to be 24 next year already.
Okay, so 4 years. 4 years.
3 to 4 years.
I'll say 4 or 5, but 4. I'll like 4.
Sad J Cutler, what's going on, bro? Good
What's
to see
up,
you.
Sad J?
Good to see you, bro.
Thanks for stopping by, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Hey, it's all good. Life is life. That happens. We just appreciate you coming in and always supporting us whenever you're here. So thank you, bro.
Yeah, we just like having a conversation with whoever cares to stop by and check it out.
And
so.
I hope it's good busy and not bad busy.
Yeah.
And if it is bad busy, I hope things cool down for you. But thank you for coming in. Thank you for thanks for the support, bro. But yo, Nick, I got another question for you. I got a couple of questions.
Okay.
With Carson Wentz, because I see Alex has Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
With Carson Wentz looking like he's not going to be a Colt next year, even though Pittman finished as a wide receiver 2 and he is going to be hard to buy, is he a buy for you considering how bad Carson Wentz was and how run-oriented that offense was? Because to me, in every league I'm in, I've thought Carson Wentz was gone from the Indianapolis Colts for a while. So yeah. I've thrown out offers in every league I'm in for Pittman already, just to see if there's any way that I can buy. I don't know if it's buying low on him, but I think he has a better chance of reaching his ceiling in the coming years without Wentz versus what we've seen from him this past year. I think this past year was kind of his floor. Yeah,
he's a buy. I don't know that you're going to get him. You're not going to get him.
Not going to be cheap.
But I mean, regardless of who his quarterback is next year, Pittman's looking at a potential 3rd-year breakout. That's when this type of stuff happens. The 3rd year is oftentimes when like these good, young, promising players start to put it all together.
He was the wide receiver 16 right behind Keenan Allen, right ahead of T. Higgins. So it's not going to be cheap.
No.
But I think he has top 10 wide receiver upside. He showed that in the season through I think the first 8 weeks, he was a top 10 fantasy wide receiver. And then Carson Wentz started turning back into Carson Wentz.
After like week 9 or 10, Wentz started to like
he went
fall
in the
back
bucket.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was a game against either the Bucks or the Rams where he broke both of his ankles. like Aaron, I think it was Aaron Donald. I think Aaron Donald just ruined.
I think that,
and yeah,
that was early in the season. Yeah. Oh, man.
Hey, good to hear it's good busy, Sad J Color. So which offensive stud rookies, depending on the draft situation, that I need to know of now? Hey, we got a whole section of rookie draft profiles. Nick was working on the wide receivers. I was working on some of the running backs. Check those out at your leisure. You know, there are regular 4 to 6 minute, 7 minute videos that go over some of these rooks. So check them out. We really only covered the higher profile rookies. No need to check out the Zach Charbonnet one because he deferred his entry to the NFL in
he's going back to
1 year, so he's going back to college. But all the other rookie profiles we got are worth checking out, Sad J. So check those out. But having gone over the wide receivers, do you have any favorite wide receivers? Because I feel like the running backs are pretty static. Everybody knows about Breece Hall. Everybody knows about Isaiah Spiller. Everybody knows about Kenneth Walker. And those are the big 3. And outside of that, it's kind of a crapshoot. So are there any wide receivers that stuck out to you when you were doing your rookie profiles on wide receivers?
So I mean, I'm a fan of. I think Treylon Burks is the most should be the first receiver off the board. In a vacuum, he's the most talented. It would be like if I had my pick of the litter, it would be hard to pass him up.
He looks like DK Metcalf with better route running.
Yeah. I am just a sucker for like the little dudes who run excellent routes and like can be used all over the field. So I like Deontay Johnson. I like Jalen Waddle.
That archetype, that Chris Godwin archetype. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Godwin's a little bit bigger than those two guys, I think, but same deal. Yeah. I think Garrett Wilson is of that same mold, and I think he's going to be in one quarterback leagues. He's probably going to go around like 4th, 5th, something like that. In Superflex leagues, I think he's maybe goes around 7 or 8, somewhere around there. He should be an easy first-round pick in dynasty drafts. I'm bullish on his potential from a talent perspective and what he does well. Yep. I think he's got a potential to be a PPR monster. Those are just like my type. Those are the types of guys that I just like having on my team.
No, I'm with you. One guy that I'm looking out for.
Sorry, I just missed. I missed.
Williams.
Sorry, I missed. Alex traded Pitts, but ended up with Andrews. So solid.
Hey, no, I don't.
like,
I don't.
Not bad.
I don't hate that at all. Obviously.
Not bad.
Yeah,
not bad.
You're good at tight end. I just hate giving up probably the dynasty tight end 1.
Yeah, but
even
if
though you got
like
the
Andrews
dynasty
is like,
tight end 2,
is in the top 3 though.
Right.
So
you still made that all right. Your team makeup is still strong.
And having Najee, yeah, that's fine.
But one of the guys that I like is Jameson Williams. If he didn't suffer the injury that he suffered, he would be a lot higher in people's rankings. He's a guy. So
he's gonna be explosive.
So if you can get him back of the first, early part of the second, depending on what format your league is in, I mean, I think you're sitting pretty there. I think you're sitting pretty. So those are 2 guys as far as wide receivers go. If you can land Trey McBride at tight end, he looks like the only real bona fide tight end prospect in this draft. Now, we don't have the athletic measurables on a lot of these guys, and honestly, I haven't dug into a ton other tight ends. I've heard of Weidermeyer out there, so he's a guy to at least pay attention to. And we'll be doing some more draft coverage leading up to and definitely after the combine, definitely leading up to the draft and after the draft. So look out for those. But are there any we got that. Off the top of your head, who are you excited to see in an ideal situation next year? Well, we just mentioned Michael Pittman Jr., so that was one of them. He should be in a better situation than he was in this year, just based off of the fact that his quarterback will be better. But are there any other guys that are screaming they will be in a better situation next year versus this year? Nick, what do you think?
Excited to see, like, in an ideal situation, like an existing ideal situation. I guess there's so much so much up in the air. I don't know. I mean, the first thing that pops
I know you're excited to see Terry McLaurin with the actual quarterback.
I mean, sure,
but an actual quarterback.
There's that. We'll see if that actually happens. I mean, here's one. I'm probably going to get as many shares of Justin Jefferson as I possibly can. I think the Vikings took a step forward as an organization this offseason, getting out from under an old head type of like a traditionalist type of coach and Mike Zimmer. They're clearly moving forward with like an analytics approach. I think they're going to throw the ball a lot more. I mean, you want to talk about a running back who probably makes sense to sell. I think it's Dalvin Cook. Like who, as far as like big names, not that he's gonna. He
said rookie ideal situations.
Oh, rookies, got it.
Continue.
Okay.
I mean, your point still stands.
Yeah, the point still. Yeah, it still stands. As far as the rookies, I mean, so
hey, if Chris Olave can go to a place that can maximize his value, he's again that type of shorter receiver that catches everything thrown his way and is a good route runner. Chris Olave is a guy that has been talked about for a couple of years, and I feel like right now the general
he should be fine where he ends
thoughts on him are that he will have fallen below a couple of the other late risers. But last year, he was being talked about as a top 3 wide receiver in this draft. Right now, he's kind of being talked about in the top 6, top 8
Yeah,
wide receivers in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's recency bias, like these new guys coming up that we saw as risers, just leapfrogging them because people know what they can get from Olave. They've seen it for a few years. He's not as exciting to talk about. I don't really know. I would be happy getting Olave on my squad because I think he falls in again to that Deontay Johnson archetype, that slightly smaller stature, great in the slot, yards after catch, smaller wide receiver, but he has some speed too. He kind of reminds me of Emmanuel Sanders with a little bit more speed. I think if he reaches his ceiling, he could be a mix between Emmanuel Sanders and what Mike Wallace was giving you back in the day. Which is, a burner with sure hands, though, that can work underneath, too. If he reaches his ceiling, I do like Olave a lot. So depending on where he goes, if he goes to a place that can maximize his ceiling, people have talked about him going to the Buccaneers because they need another wide receiver there. If he can slide right into that Chris Godwin role, that's real enticing. That's real enticing. There you go. So that's the guy that I've been looking at as somebody that was rated real high after in the 2021 offseason that people have cooled off on, and I think maybe it's because of that. Ooh, look at the shiny new toys. These other wide receivers that came into the first round wide receiver conversation just after this 2021 season. Or you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So. And you've had Justin Jefferson for the last 2 years. Hey, good job. Good job. I bet you were happy with that draft pick.
And I called him out too. Yeah, I think the Vikings offense is taking a step forward from a pass catching perspective. So there you go.
Now I had a few other questions for you, and one of them specifically is about your Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh crap.
There's been speculation that they are buyers in the Russell Wilson sweepstakes, considering they have 3 first-round picks. And Jalen Hurts, there was trade speculation that it would be a couple of first-round picks and Jalen Hurts for Russell Wilson. What are your thoughts on all of that?
It probably wouldn't make sense. The Eagles aren't a team that is legitimately ready to compete for a Super Bowl. Like, that's just the bottom line. The defense needs playmakers everywhere. The offense is lacking in playmakers as well. Russ elevates any situation that he's in, but like I don't think they're like in a spot where they should get a 33-year-old Russell Wilson. Just I don't see it. Really quick, Alex, about the question about Stafford at the Super Bowl party.
I did not see that.
So I heard about it. I know what you're talking about. I did not see it. But by all accounts, yeah, he was drunk, and it's a Super Bowl party. He just won the Super Bowl. I'm not holding that against him. It just like things happen. And I read something earlier today on social media that Stafford's going to be covering the medical costs of the one. I think she had a fracture. She suffered a fracture or something. I'm not sure, like a spinal fracture. Like it sounded like, she got hurt. Just an unfortunate situation. But like, should he have helped her? I mean, sure, but like in the moment, like, yeah, if I had the means to help her, I should have helped her. If I did and like just wasn't able to react in time, like it's just like one of those things. He's paying for her medical bills. He put out a statement that he didn't apologize because there was nothing to apologize for, just that he was remorseful about it, and he's still ended up doing the right thing because he's paying for the medical bills. So that's all I got. I didn't see the video. I'm sure I might end up seeing it at some point. But ultimately, I think he's doing the right thing. So like he is. If people are upset about how he like what he didn't do at the time, I think he's more than making up for it by taking care of like the hospital bills. So all good. Unfortunate that it happened. Hopefully she's okay. Hopefully she makes a full recovery. I mean, Stafford was drunk. When you're drunk, your decision making and your ability to react to something is severely impaired.
Right. And I
can't
mean,
play.
He was exercising some demons in that Super Bowl party. I mean,
as he
13 years in Detroit. So
he should.
I can't fault him for
stopping
his party.
Right. I mean,
party
I
of all parties,
Of course, hope she's okay.
Hindsight's 2020, and it's cool that I think it's just cool that he's going out of his way to help her. The fact. So
So good on him. Unfortunate it happened, but good on him.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the Eagles and Russell Wilson. It's just not it's a fit that makes sense from the perspective of like Russ matches what the Eagles have historically wanted to do with their quarterbacks, which is have a mobile quarterback who can make plays like with his. I mean, the whole league is doing that these days anyway. But the Eagles' history, goes back a ways. Wentz, they had Wentz, who was a mobile quarterback. They had Michael Vick. They had Donovan McNabb. Way back in the day, they had Randall Cunningham. Like the Eagles have more mobile quarterbacks in their history than most NFL teams. So from that perspective, and the Eagles offense always caters to that type of stuff. The Eagles have always been a pass happy offense, no matter who they hire. The Eagles want a mobile quarter. They want to throw the ball a lot, but they want their quarterback to be mobile. That's been the mantra since for 20 plus years now. So Russ would fit from that perspective. I just don't think this specific team is ready to compete even with the Russell Wilson. The offensive line is definitely better, Jay. The Eagles notoriously year in and year out do have one of the better offensive lines in the league.
Yeah,
Seattle currently has one of
Johnson,
the worst.
Bro, he all juiced up.
Yeah, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey is shut up. Jason Kelsey is reportedly coming back for one more season. So you're talking about Kelsey's an all-pro, even at his, even in his age 35, 36 season, whatever it is, still one of the best centers in the NFL. They've developed Jordan Mailata into one of the best from a 7th round pick who played rugby to one of the best tackles in the league. It's an excellent story. And Landon Dickerson was their 2nd round pick last year. He was not good in the beginning of the season, but really made strides and improvements as the season went on. The Eagles have a good offensive line. Russ would be good from that perspective, but you're right. Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, pretty good weapons, not DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett level, but they're ascending talents. After that, there's nothing there. And the defense is probably the most important part of this conversation. The Eagles just don't have playmakers on defense outside of Darius Slay. They're lacking. They have holes everywhere. So it would probably not be too much different of a situation than the Seattle team that he just finished this past season with, who won 5 or 6 games. I know the Eagles made the playoffs, but I don't think the difference between those two teams is so significant. So the offensive line would definitely be enticing for Russ, but that's probably it.
Yeah. I mean, you would hope that they would upgrade their weapons too, but I don't know if they have the clout to be able to do both. Go out and get Russell Wilson and upgrade their weapons. But Sad J, thank you very much for the kind words. Those are that's man. Some of the highest praise fantasy analysts or an aspiring fantasy football channel can get. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, Tags was the OG GOAT. I mean, he was the first guy that I started tuning into when I started getting into fantasy 12 years ago. He was the first guy that I really gravitated towards listening to, and just thanks. That's high praise, and prayers up for Tags, yo.
Yeah, pour one out for him.
Yes, sir.
So, look, from an Eagles fan perspective, it would be fun. It would be that initial reaction, oh, we're getting a quarterback. like that would be fun. I don't think he fits here. I think it would make more sense for him to go to Pittsburgh, I don't even know if this is, maybe go to New Orleans. There are definitely,
like the Eagles are a team that have need for those 3 first-round picks, and giving up those 3 first-round picks,
2 of them,
for a quarterback as a quick fix probably isn't the smartest move organizationally.
No.
Whereas they could use those 3 first-round picks to fill some holes and really build for the future. Because they won a Super Bowl a few years ago, but I at least
team.
look at that Super Bowl like that was a magical year, and we probably won't see years like that.
They don't happen
come
very
again.
Often.
And it was an outlier year, and it wasn't particularly because the team was set up to succeed long term. They just made it everything worked in their went their way that year, and it culminated in a Super Bowl. But if the Eagles want to set themselves up to be in the conversation in a weak NFC, to be in the conversation perennially, I think they need to use those first-round picks and try to hit on 2 out of the 3 at positions of need to solidify their team long-term, so they can become one of these, hopefully, juggernauts of the future, specifically in the NFC, because outside of the Rams and, the Cardinals, there aren't too many juggernauts in the NFC.
Yeah, so from that perspective, like that's almost an argument that would make the Eagles want to make the move to get Russell Wilson, because it's like, and again, I don't know that it's, or not that it would be something I agree with, but to that point, the NFC is going to be wide open next year. The AFC is loaded with good quarterbacks. The NFC is not. So who wins the NFC? Obviously, the Rams are, there's no question you have to put them as the favorite right now. But without knowing if Aaron Rodgers is going to play in Green Bay next year, I don't know who the second best team is in the conference. Maybe I don't even want to say the Cowboys. I get from a talent perspective, they're up there. From a talent perspective, they're up there. They've failed to win playoff games though. So I guess like they're in the top 5. There's no question. Probably in the top 3. I guess the Cardinals are up there. They flamed out so hard in the playoffs, but the Bucs are losing Brady.
You keep talking. I gotta go off stream for a quick sec.
Okay, John needs to take a phone call, so I will wrap this thought up. The NFC is going to be wide open next year, which is why it probably ultimately makes sense for guys like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson to stay in the NFC. It keeps it simpler. It keeps it easier for them. It makes your path a little easier. Because you don't have to go through Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. So I would think that does lend a bit of an advantage to the NFC teams. So, are the Eagles a contender for Russell Wilson's services? I guess so. But does it make sense? It probably doesn't make the most sense to do that. The Eagles just aren't I don't think they're a team that's ready to compete. So, I've seen a couple people throw out the 49ers as that could be a landing spot for a quarterback, but they plunged so many resources into Trey Lance. They 3 first-round picks is a mother load. I can't imagine Aaron Rodgers has been linked to the 49ers in a slew of ways, in a multitude of ways throughout his career, and now it's could he go home? I'm not sure I see that. And then if and they're not going to be able to trade for Russell Wilson. That's just not happening. That's not happening between division opponents. There's no shot. But we'll see what happens. It makes sense for those guys to stay in the conference though. But if they move over to the AFC, it would be fireworks in the AFC. There would be no primetime NFC games, or at least they wouldn't be if I controlled the schedule. But Alex, do we play in leagues with kicker and defense? Yeah. Yeah. So in our dynasty leagues, no. Dynasty leagues would, it's quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. In every keeper league and redraft league I play, we still play kickers and defenses. I go back and forth on my feelings about it. I like the defense. I like the team defense, but we beef up the stats a little bit, or the scoring a little bit for defenses, because here's my thinking there. With defenses in redraft or keeper leagues, I just don't like the fact that, from a defensive perspective, the default settings for like Yahoo or ESPN have not changed over the years. And over the years, the NFL has become more of a league, more and more, like every year, it's a league that caters more and more to the offense. Like defensive players, generally speaking, are at a supreme disadvantage, like on a game by game, play by play basis. They're much more, it's much more favorable, penalties and all that, much more in favor of the offense. So it's easier to score. It's easier to score these days. So if you're playing your traditional scoring settings for fantasy, like Yahoo, ESPN, whatever, defenses lose a lot of points after just after just a touchdown allowed. After 7 points are scored, you go down from like 10 points to, is it 7? And then when it goes down to 14, it goes down to like 3 or 4. You lose a lot of points real fast. So I make the penalty for that less so. I might make it so that like if you score a touchdown, like you go 7 points, you go down to like 8 points instead of 7 or whatever it is. And if it's like you get to 14 points, you go down to 6 or 7 instead of 3 or 4. And another thing I do is I include points for a tackle for loss. So for me, at least in the where I'm the commissioner, where I have influence over the settings, a tackle for loss for us for defense is half a point. So it's the same as a tackle for loss is equivalent to a catch in half PPR. Because my argument for that is like it's a win for the defense. The defense forced the offense to lose yardage. There's a bit of a benefit for that. So defenses can be a little bit of a cheat code. Defense or not a cheat code. It's still, it's all relative. It's a level playing field at the end of the day because everyone's playing with the same scoring settings. But I boost the scoring for defense a little bit.
Yeah, I'm back.
So you good?
Yep.
Okay.
What were we talking about?
So Alex asked us about kicker and defenses and if we use them in our leagues. I was explaining the different defensive scoring that I use for our keeper league, but that we don't utilize kickers or defense in dynasty leagues. But was talking about how the in our keeper league where I'm the commish, the penalty for scores against your defense is not as severe as default.
even in the keeper league, I was an advocate for getting rid of your kickers, at least, maybe not defenses. I would, if it was up to me, I'd get rid of both of those. I would just get rid of both of those.
We didn't try to eliminate defenses.
Maybe add more flex spots.
Yeah, that's what we tried for.
It's more fun than having to deal with kickers and defenses, and
people like
there's
tradition.
a strategy
people like
to
tradition.
keep to kickers and defenses for sure. I would just rather not have to deal with the headache.
Yeah, it would be nice if it was another flex spot and I could play an actual football player than a kicker. I don't mind the defense. I really don't. I didn't fight to eliminate that, but ultimately, if all of our league mates came to me and said, "Let's eliminate defense for a flex spot," I probably wouldn't fight it. And kicker even less so. So I did change the scoring for defense to just like make them a little bit more relevant in our keeper league. But with default scoring settings, I hate defenses as much as I hate kickers because, again, it's a league that favors offense. It's easier to score, which means when the default settings for team defense hasn't changed in 30 years or however long it's been, it's easier to score points these days than it was 20 years ago. So the default scoring settings for defense on Yahoo and ESPN are terrible. And so when I play in leagues where that's not adjusted, I hate defense as much as kicker.
Yeah.
So.
But more less erroneous spots, more flex spots.
Yeah, I would love to replace kicker with flex, but
then you wouldn't be able to. Then the kicker whisperer would be out of a job, and you wouldn't be able to talk about Evan McPherson.
I wouldn't be out of a
week.
job. I wouldn't be out of a job. Make no mistake, I wouldn't be out of a job. It almost made me the fact that I've been dubbed that almost makes me appreciate kickers a little bit more.
I'm sure it does.
So
yeah,
but I could do without playing with them, and in our dynasty leagues that's the case. We don't play them. But yeah, I mean, I never draft a kicker in casual leagues because I have casual leagues with like coworkers or old coworkers or stuff like that. Like, yeah, I'll draft a kicker, but like in more advanced leagues, I'll just like wait until week 1 and drop the most droppable guy on my bench for a kicker 10 minutes before kickoff. Like, it's just, it's pointless. So
yeah,
but
I agree.
Not a fan.
But hey, if it's something we got to deal with, if the worst thing I got to deal with is kicker spots and defense spots,
streaming a kicker
in fantasy, which is one of the funnest things in life. Let's be real.
We love staring at our phones.
Yeah, I'll deal with it.
Waiting for those scores to update.
But yeah, are there any other players you wanted to hit on? I know
that's about it. I mean, I think that's pretty much it. That's all I had today. I know we kind of just, this was a bit of a free for all, but it's been fun.
I know you mentioned Justin Jefferson when you were answering Sad Jay's question there.
Yeah.
A guy that came to mind for me real quick before we start wrapping stuff up.
Yeah.
Is the other guy in the Bears offense. That
Moons?
Not Allen Robinson.
Talking to
I
the
think
moon.
Darnell Mooney is just as much as a buy as
Absolutely.
Allen Robinson is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna have to pay more. You're gonna have to pay more. But he fits into the archetype that we were talking about before when we were talking about rookies. When we were talking about smaller rookies who can do it all. Darnell Mooney fits into that. He fits into that archetype. He is that type of player. I believe he was, let me see here, weeks 1 through 18. Darnell Mooney was right behind Jalen Waddle, right ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver 22. And he should be able to...
For the season?
For the season. He should be able to do a little better than that next year with a more competent head coach, with a more competent front office, with a more competent offensive scheme, with hopefully another wide receiver opposite him, opposite him to take some coverage away from him that is a little bit more effective at that than Allen Robinson. I think obviously we haven't even touched on Justin Fields' growth from year 1 to year 2. I like Darnell Mooney a lot. So he's another guy like Michael Pittman, who, while he hit a pretty good ceiling in 2021, I expect even more from him moving forward, given his situation right now. Michael Pittman right now is a guy that I'm at least seeing what the price is, seeing if it's a palatable price, seeing if that's something I'm willing to give up. For Michael Pittman, it's probably going to be a first plus for both of these guys. Probably going to have to pay more for Pittman than you are for Mooney right now. But both guys are guys that I'd be willing to buy high on, considering taking into account where they finished in 2021. Because I think their ceilings are higher than where they finished in 2021. They're obviously young wide receivers. And I like them both. I like them both.
Yeah, it's a good call out. Assuming there's another year of like a step forward taken by Fields, is a little bit better in his second year, which shouldn't be hard. Year one was not great, but I can hardly put that at his feet. The Bears were dysfunctional in 2021. So yeah, if better days are ahead, then
no, he's a top 24 wide receiver. He's a low end wide receiver 2 at worst, and he has a ceiling for more. I don't know if he has the same ceiling as Michael Pittman. I don't know if he has the same ceiling as some of these other guys, but he should be in that low end. Honestly,
top 20. I think
is
20.
Is he a young
20,
Brandon Cooks? Is he going to be high-end wide receiver 2 for the next not 10 years, but
I'm
6
not
years?
ready to go there. I'm not ready to go there. Cooks has had a very good career.
He might be Cooks light.
That would be great. I mean,
light.
I hope that's the case for him.
And I'm buying Cooks light if I can get Cooks light.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say my piece on Darnell Mooney because he was not in our dynasty buys, and I think he should have fallen into that category. We just didn't touch on him.
Sure. No, it's a good call out.
But I think that about does it for this show. If you have if you have anything else, you got anything else? No.
I'm good. I don't have anything else. This was fun to kind of just kick it, kind of free for all it, just do whatever comes up and go from there. So, but yeah, no, I'm good. This was fun. Appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out
and once again, if you're
questions.
in here and you didn't tune into our last live stream that we did on Tuesday, that was again probably one of the more fun live streams that we've done on this channel. So check that one out. If you're doing some cleanup and you just want to turn the volume up and zone out a little bit, listen to some fantasy talk, tune into that one. But again, thank you for tuning into this into this live stream. Sorry about the technical difficulties to start it off.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That won't be an issue moving forward. Thanks for being understanding for me turning off my camera and having to deal with something. Appreciate it. But everybody out there, have a great night. Have a great weekend. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. We will see you again next Tuesday. Keep an eye out for some. We're gonna have some videos dropping again over the course of this next few days. So stay tuned. But hey, thank you very much, and everybody have a great evening.
See you later.